particularly in the Red Sea. And the Red Sea trade route is one which they can interdict. That capability I would grant it to the Houthis at this stage. That Hezbollah, Hamas, and this militia, they have been quiet. Maybe their heads are down right now. They have not retaliated. Maybe when the time comes, when it is the last man, that they might rise to inflict some damage on Israel. That is a possibility which could be there. Because right now, what Israel and Iran, their duel is going on, maybe even Iran may have guided them to stay quiet at this stage, to assume that they are finished. So I think these two possibilities are there, but at the moment, this axis of resistance is a weakened.
So let's be practical. General Dwivedi, let me come back to you. Let's be practical that Iran probably does not possess the intercontinental ballistic missile capability to target the mainland United States of America, which would mean that either you continue target Israel, which is already happening, and the possibility that Israel blunts most of the response. There are American ships in the vicinity. I'm assuming that at least a percentage, if not all, of the aircraft launched for this operation were taking off from the Arabian Gulf on some sort of American carrier group operating over there. And there are American bases which you can target, which would be in the ambit of the ballistic missile capability of the Iranians. So does Israel bear the brunt of it, or will the Iranians now think, listen, we have to target an American asset as well. It's not enough simply for us to target Israel.
That's true, because as I said earlier, that
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Breaking developments coming in. We have a statement that has been released by India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He says, and I quote, "Spoke with President of Iran. We discussed in detail about the current situation, expressed deep concern at the recent escalations, reiterated our call for immediate de-escalation, dialogue and diplomacy as the way forward for early restoration of regional peace, security and stability." General Dwivedi, you first, then I'll go to Ambassador Vohra. Your thoughts on this statement?
Yeah, well, should I complete the first one?
Or yeah, go ahead, sir. Go ahead. Whichever order you want to take it in.
Okay, I'll just address both. First and foremost, you asked the question about Iranian capability to hit the bases of Americans and Israeli they're already hitting. Well, I'm sure they'll take it on together, because both Israel and Americans are together into the war. So I'm sure they'll take on the targets together. One element I would like to add, see, North Koreans have the Hwasing missiles, and that is 15 and 17 series, and they have the range of about 12,000 kilometers. So if that's something of that actually get transshipped to Iranians, that will completely change the balance of power. Now, the second point is Prime Minister Modi, yes, he has been always advocating dialogue and, diplomacy, but unfortunately, world is not taking that language. That language is only, I would say, our, kind of thrust. That is our policy line. But the world is believing in power, and as President Trump really said that we have inflicted heavy losses and only strength ensures peace. Well, that is the language that is being talked about. But nonetheless, Prime Minister is absolutely right. We have good relations with Iran, and we have communicated our concerns, and that is, I think, well taken.
Okay, hold your thought. Let me get Ambassador Vohra on this. Ambassador Vohra, we have good association with Iran. We've had them for a long period of time. We are building the port in Chabahar, or at least have been trying to build it for a long time. We do buy oil for them, but we have excellent relations with the Israelis. And yes, given Asim Munir's recent luncheons and business dealings with the Trump White House, maybe things with the Americans are not at the best tick, but we have very good associations with the Americans as well. What do we do other than sit it out?
It's a very good question about the relationship between Mullah Munir and the Americans. We are not unduly concerned about that. What are they going to do? He's probably going to give them some more weapons, saying that these will not be used against India. But there are no weapons that fire in one direction, only as General Dwivedi and General Singh will tell you. What I see the Prime Minister of India saying, stressing dialogue and diplomacy, it's a very anodyne kind of comment, because we are friends with both, as you have rightly said, Chabahar, etc., etc. When push comes to shove, we know where our interests lie. So at this point of time, if we are talking of diplomacy and we're talking of bringing the Iranians back to the table to talk what? I'm not quite sure what they want to talk. I mean, they'll talk about the lovely caviar that comes from Iran. But what are they going to discuss? Iran says, I won't give up my nuclear program. The rest of the world says, give it up. So where's the meeting point? I believe that regime change is the answer in Iran. It's a very hardcore government. It's a very ideologically oriented government. And if they go, perhaps that's the hope. That's what the heart wants and the mind feels, that the new replacement, whoever comes in, would be more amenable to saying, all right, finish my nuclear thing. I don't want it because nobody threatens me. Nobody is threatening Iran. It's Iran, in fact, that's threatening Israel.
But it is a conundrum, and let's not understate the conundrum. We are going to sit it out. It's not our battle to fight, okay? But it is a conundrum, and let me hypothecate that conundrum to Gautam Mukherjee. Gautam Mukherjee, now we can reasonably assume that what is being reported and concluded by the Iranians of the role of Asim Munir in the assassination of their chief of general staff, whom he met just a few days before he was killed, was true. That's exactly what happened. Asim Munir went as an agent, carrying information, relaying intelligence, and potentially planting a Trojan horse tracking device on top officials of the Iranian regime, leading to their assassination a few days later, and he was rewarded as we publicly saw him being welcomed in the White House. Now, obviously, we are quite reasonably irritated with the fact of how Trump has been talking regarding the Pakistanis, regarding Asim Munir, the business dealings that are going on, cryptocurrency and whatnot that is now exchanging hands. So, it's nothing for us to be very thrilled about, because Asim Munir seems to be the favorite of Donald Trump at this particular point of time. But at the same time, we are great friends with Israel, who in turn supported us completely when it came to Operation Sindoor. And we have, maybe not at the moment, but we have a larger arc which we have to pursue with the US. So, what do we do?
I think we are making sure that we do not lean one way or the other in this escalation between the US and Iran, as well as Israel. And in fact, we have little or no role to play. The thing to watch out for, and this is something that General Dwivedi alluded to, is have the Iranians moved all the enriched uranium before these strikes took place, because these strikes were totally expected. The Israelis have been striking on their own, and now the Americans have used the big ordnance. But if there was enriched uranium in these sites, the radiation would have been inevitable. If you remember Operation Sindoor, we struck around their nuclear stockpiles in two locations, one near Karachi, one near their airport, where the Americans are also reputed, rumored to be there. And both places let off radiation and a series of earthquakes. So if they have removed the enriched uranium, and if it is nearly at 90%, it's a small step for them to assemble up to 9 bombs. And if they've managed to do that and test just one of them, the game is up. Iran is a nuclear power. This could well happen.
Okay.
Until we find out, I think we need to keep our powder dry.
Okay, all right. Okay, let me just qualify a few things. We did not strike any Pakistani nuclear sites. We happened to hit an air base bordering which there is allegedly a Pakistan nuclear launch facility, which, as Mr. Mukherjee was saying, is reputed to be under very careful American watch. Let me put it that way. We don't know of any radiation leak or any earthquakes. These are reports. I have no confirmation of any such things. But the Iranians have indeed confirmed that their nuclear strikes have been hit. They are saying we are assessing the damage. They are saying that there is no radiation leak. I have no way of understanding whether that can be confirmed by satellite imagery alone. Perhaps the neighboring countries, as the wind current pick up the radiation, will be able to assess at some point of time. So far, the Saudis and all say no, there's no radiation that we've spotted so far. It is possible for you to remove fissile material that can be trucked out. The centrifuges, which are lined up in huge rows and are massive industrial machines, cannot be trucked out overnight in a few hours. So, yes, it is possible that what Gautam Mukherjee is alluding, that you could sneak out enough fissile material, and if indeed it was 90% plus enriched, you could make some sort of a dirty bomb of a large enough capacity and therefore go with that. It doesn't seem that that's the direction we're going into, but anything is possible at this point of time. But let me get a perspective in from General Dwivedi on this. General Dwivedi, now it is a good thing that our Prime Minister has spoken with the President of Iran as well. It's happening in context. Let's not ignore the context. We have a lot of irritations with the Americans right now. I mean, Donald Trump sitting there and announcing a ceasefire, then claiming credit for it, completely at odds with our statement on the matter, hosting Asim Munir when he skipped the meeting with PM Modi at the G7 because he wanted to rush back, speaking in India and Pakistan on equivalent terms, which is unheard of in several administrations. So we have a few irritations right now, but yes, the broader arc of India-US cooperation also still exists. So in between here, what do we do other than sit it out?
Well, Richard, first and foremost, when you look at the relations between the countries, there are the strategic dimension and there are the tactical dimensions. Well, if you think strategically, I think our relations are still on a sound footing. After all, we signed 5 major agreements. We are the strategic partner, and this, as ambassador will bear me out, diplomacy is not event to event. It's a long-time process, and it has been a work in progress for at least last 25, 30 years. So if you take that perspective, I think the relations are still on sound footing. But definitely, we have serious concerns about President Trump's, the way he has been making statements, the way he has been dealing, the way he has been, interacting with the Pakistanis, hosting their chief. All these are very, very, not only optics. There are a lot of, I think, issues behind it, and we cannot wish it away, because let's get the thing clear that Pakistan is playing at both ends. They are keeping the candle burning on both ends. They are in lap as a lap kid of Chinese. They are also today in the camp of Americans. They have the knack of playing both ways, sucking out both sides. They are rental state, but that we cannot wish away currently the damage being done, because damage is definitely has been done. We have to do some damage control, but right at the moment, I think we need to make 2-3 statements very clear. Firstly, we are very concerned. You know what others will feel always. What will Chinese feel? What will Trump feel? Oh, let them feel what they want to. But we must state very clearly and categorically that there was no mediation, there was no ceasefire. We don't take it, as a compliment that you are comparing a rogue state with a democratic system.
But Donald Trump wants to win a Nobel Peace. The one thing I appreciate about Donald Trump is that unlike the Democrats, at least he's very in your face about it. The Democrats will say a nice thing but then stab you in the back 5 minutes later. So he's very upfront, but he's saying I deserve a Nobel Peace Prize for mediating peace between India and Pakistan. And Asim Munir says, I'll propose you.
Well, that's true. In fact, Mr. Trump will like to buy the Nobel Prize because he is basically a corporate person. He will like to pay. I'm sure he must have given handsome money to, I won't say directly, but he would have given some handsome favor to Munir and Pakistan to endorse him for the Nobel Prize. I'm sure a lot must have gone under the table. So I don't want to make a conjecture. But then this is how President Trump deals. He is a deal maker, he claims to be. And I'm sure he must have made a deal to have him nominated for the Nobel Prize. And that is slightly, I would say, in lighter vein. But we need to look at the serious issues. What is Pakistan going to get from America in terms of weapons? No, you cannot wish it away or some weapons will come. No, not at all. The weapons today mean a lot. Today, Chinese are going to give J-35s. That will set the complete strategic equation.
But Asim Munir currently seems to be running a blank check. He seems to have a blank check from Donald Trump, from cryptocurrency to direct dealings with the Trump family. The $2 billion he got even before Operation Sindoor had ended. So he seems to have a blank check from the Americans right now, and certainly that is not digestible by us in the current scope of things. This is not a coincidence, ladies and gentlemen, that India's Prime Minister was sitting in Cyprus before he went to Canada. Why would you go to Cyprus? Well, think of the Greek and Turkish dispute over there. There's a particular reason that he was there. But the fact is that Trump headed back from the G7. Reasonable, you can say that he had things, this operation was being planned, so you had to be sitting and monitoring it. But he skipped the meeting with India's Prime Minister. They had a 35-minute phone call, and we are told in the phone call, he was very clearly told that the Pakistanis called us and asked for a ceasefire. But he then went again and reiterated in public several times that no, I negotiated the peace. It was me who did it. Give me a Nobel Prize. So we have, I don't think the association is as rosy as we would like it to be. But again, what do we do about it? Because we are very good friends with Israel. Israel has been very supportive of our cause. We have a good association with Iran, but the Iranian and Israelis are currently at war. Now, what do we do sitting in between? Generally, if two streams are going from one side to the other, do you want to be the one sitting in between getting wet from both sides? Ambassador Vora, obviously it's a conundrum, and it's an unhappy, unfortunate conundrum. It's happening in very difficult circumstances. So, other than sit it out, what do we do?
Not the only time. We had very good relations with a country you may have heard of it called Ukraine, and another one you might have heard of it called Russia. And we had this, what you call a conundrum even there. We did what we had to. We went, we spoke to both. And now we're letting matters take their own course. As far as this is concerned, sir, Trump saying this, Trump saying that, and we should do this, we should do that. We've made it very clear. The readout by our foreign secretary came soon after the conversation ended, before Trump could make any more claims. I've sat in on many of these conversations. Let me tell you, I didn't listen to this one, but let me tell you how these are planned. Call comes in from the US president, our prime minister responds. And then the first thing is, hello, Mr. President, thank you for calling. And then the substantive part is, Mr. President, thank you for our interest in our region. You know that we never accept mediation, etc. And then the big spiel goes on after that. And then thank you, Mr. President, for inviting me to the United States. But, I have a commitment to make in Croatia. Later, he said he had a commitment with Lord Jagannath in Bhubaneswar also. So he went off there. The whole thing then is, the president is told very clearly, but Trump is not the kind of guy, sir, from my experience with this character, I don't know, I'm not saying that we are buddies, but I've observed him. He hears, but he does not listen. It's like an echo chamber, a self-contained echo chamber. He only hears, he only listens to what he wants to. And since he has said that I've also sorted out the problem between Congo and Rwanda, also there was a problem between the sun and the moon I mediated, so give me the Nobel Prize, etc., etc. Go along with this narcissistic fellow. Why do we call him a liar publicly? It doesn't help me. He is the president of the most powerful country in the world. So we have made our point. We've done it low-key, which is the strength of our diplomacy. And hopefully, after a little period of time, now that he's totally involved in the Israel-Iran thing, he'll forget about us and move on to something else. And if a deal is made between Iran and Israel, say, you see, now I deserve 2 Nobel Prizes because I've also got this deal off the ground. Happy birthday, go right ahead. It doesn't bother me.
All right. Okay. One last quick question. I need to take a break. Gautam Mukherjee, we are now looking at 46 years since the previous Shah of Iran, Mohammad Raza Shah, fled into exile. 46 years. Now, suddenly, in the last 48 hours, his son is acting up. Do we really think that 46 years later, the son of a now dead former Shah could be a possible alternative? I mean, these options have been tried in Iraq, they were tried in Afghanistan, they didn't work there. Do you think it's a viable option that you could see the Shah of Iran return, and instead of a Ayatollah, you could have an autocrat king taking charge in Iran?
Well, if he is a US nominee, as is likely, because he's suddenly come in out of the cold and is positioning himself as an alternative, That is one thought. How much influence America will have in domestic politics and regime change remains to be seen. It's a highly populous country with 92 million people and layers of this regime that has lasted, as you say, 47 years. So, it won't be easy to set the clock back. Even if there is regime change, there may be new leadership. In fact, the present leader has already nominated about 3 leaders in succession, depending on who survives and who comes in, already in anticipation of his own exit. So it's a little up in the air. The Shah's son is readily recognized by the rest of the world. Is he going to be recognized by the Iranian people as a possible alternative? The Shah did not cover himself in glory beyond his oligarchy, beyond his chosen few. He was very repressive with the bulk of the people, and his secret service was notorious for his cruelty. So we don't know if that is something that the Iranian people...
So we don't know.
would
And
welcome.
frankly, regime change, Libya, I don't know how that's going. Egypt, I don't know how that's going either. Iraq, not really sure how that's going. Recently, Bangladesh, not 100% sure how that's going. Okay, no democracy there. Afghanistan, I think that went back to square one very rapidly. So, not really sure whether regime change yields the results, but the question that you have to ask if you're sitting in Israel is, regime change or no change, have you demonstrably and effectively obliterated or at least decimated the Iranian capacity to do harm to Israel? That's an existential question for them. For the Americans, it's a completely different scheme of things. For Israel, it's an existential question between Hamas, Hezbollah, and yes, where was the money coming from? It was probably coming rooted from the Iranians and the Qataris. So for Israel, it's a different question. For the Americans, it's a different question. They would love the regime change. They would love to have another puppet regime which still has oil. The Pakistanis have betted on regime change, because after having led to the assassinations in the most dramatic Trojan horse operation that one can even fathom that has taken place in the last couple of weeks, they are betting on regime change. Because if regime change does not happen and 3-4 years later Iran regathers its strength, then Pakistan is in a whole lot of trouble on all its borders, more so than it has been. Let's see how this plays out. I'm going to thank my guests. We're going to take a break. See you in a few minutes.
अगर आप बनना चाहते हैं एंकर या फिर आप में है जुनून एक तेज तर्रार न्यूज रिपोर्टर बनने का, तो आप ज्वाइन करें ITV और इंडिया न्यूज NewsX का मीडिया स्कूल। ITV नेक्स्ट मीडिया इंटरनेशनल स्कूल का कोर्स आपको मौका